sleepy. Can I see some energy? Okay, if you want to be a part of this mind-numbing panel discussion, then ladies and gentlemen, I would request you to kindly be ready with your questions, be actively participating because this is your moment where technology is going to transform not only people at large, but all our lives. Yes, it is a moment where technology is not only going to give enterprise solutions, but solutions to each and every individual right now. So first, our session is titled Blockchain's Role in Modernizing Infrastructure. As we know, if a country needs to be developed, the first and the foremost backbone is its infrastructure. And today, technology has become the pivotal tool in shaping that backbone and creating a strong foundation for a country's progress. So first, if you all are ready, can you all put your hands together to welcome our panelists? First, we have with us Kamlesh Nagware, co-founder FSV Capital. Ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together for our panelists, please. As the stage is getting set, I think we are all getting ready for this first panel session, which is going to be all about some engaging talk. So please put your questions ready, because as soon as this panel is going to be over, you guys can shoot your questions to our panelists. So first, we have with us Mr. Kamlesh Nagware, co-founder FSV Capital, ladies and gentlemen. We have with us now Mr. Shashi Pal, COO, Antier Solutions. Why is this energy so low? Thank you. And once again, Mr. Joseph Joshi, CTO, IFSCA. Yes, very well deserved appreciation. One more time, ladies and gentlemen. And finally, may we request our moderator of the session, Mr. Prasanna Lohar, CEO of Blockstack. Well, this is one of the most engaging sessions, ladies and gentlemen. As I leave you all, the dais is all yours, gentlemen. Let us come together, join hands and curate a wonderful session. One more time for this wonderful session, ladies and gentlemen.
And I think Joseph has already set up a tone with his keynote, how modernization is happening in India and how IFSC and the GIFT City is really playing a major role. I think blockchain we have seen in the Indian context at least since 2015-16. I have been observing how it is being getting in shape. While it's a foundation technology, it will take its own time for actual adoption. And how we have seen internet came in our life back in 95, and today we can't have any of those use cases, the way we communicate, the way we do all these financial transactions, it's all backed by internet. But as we all know that there are some gaps, trust gaps, there are some operational gaps. That is why we look at blockchain, AI and the other Web3 technologies, so that we can really enhance all of our operations. And good to see that the business model which we have seen early 2000 are now challenging. They said there could be something more in those business models. That is why we have seen some more business models are coming. So-called currencies getting changed with the CBDC, central bank currency. Tokenization is coming and knocking the door, how we can really do the same business to the next market. So I think with this panel we will really discuss how blockchain will play a major role on modernization of the infrastructure. There might be a lot of use cases, challenges, support from government, regulatory aspect. We'll discuss a lot around that. So I'll start with Shashi. Shashi, we have seen and people talk a lot about blockchain will change many things. Like in the sense, the way we have, I spoke about CBDC. Every SMS we receive from a bank or any of those enterprise entities on a blockchain in at least Indian context. Some of the digital public infra like Digital Yatra Foundation is coming on blockchain. Will not be surprised DigiLocker is coming on blockchain. In the sense, all these use cases as a citizen we are going to use is definitely coming on blockchain. And the other areas like you could see at least 10 plus governments, including Gujarat government. I was here last week. You see that land registration for many of those citizen-centric use cases coming on blockchain. While government is there, want to understand what more other sectors are really coming and really getting incentivized by these foundational technology.
Thanks for setting up this thing. So, like you mentioned, internet, right? It took its own pace to come into the mainstream. So similarly, blockchain is taking their own time, right? Though the time duration will be less. For example, initially the money part, it started tokenizations, right? The Bitcoin, the Ethereum that we can see today, right? So everything started with money, and then it moves to art, tokenization of art. Then it moves to security tokens offering, and now asset tokenization, right? So there is a value chain that is moving, and is ever evolving technology, and it's taking its own pace, right? And its own pace, they are changing, and they are now shifting to the mainstream. I think government has started already visualizing all these things, and CBDC is first thing that I could see that is changing, right? If I comparing it with the blockchain technology that's shaping it up. So first was money that is getting tokenized. So here we are coming with blockchain CBDCs, right? And similarly, then art, then there is the infrastructures. Then there is for the STOs, then now the assets are moving, all the assets that we can see it. So I think down the line, whatever we can see, like whatever fundamentals behind any infrastructure, it's going to shift into the blockchain, right? So starting with the banking services, definitely the laws and regulations will take a game, because there are a lot of other stuff that we need to see. As a forefront of the technology, we can see only benefit of the technology. But governments and the law and a lot of regulations, like Joseph sir had mentioned. So a lot of things that are working behind the scene that probably we will get to know down the line. Yeah, so I think everything that we could see today, it will be shifting into the infrastructure or anything that we can see, it's moving to the blockchain technology.
Yeah, I think rightly said. And if you emphasize as a canvas, we'll have blockchain use cases in the four different areas. Maybe it could be a national level use case, the way I spoke about some of those CBDCs or DPS coming on blockchain, or at an organization level, we want to really see every organization becomes a zero knowledge group. How do we really govern every identity in an organization, see how they are really working from morning to evening, how MD or a CEO or a CISO in the bank or office can really have a greener view, whatever the data movement is happening. Or some of the use cases like consortium based, the way we see banking consortium, as he said, or insurance consortium, or a multi-consortium like an insurance claim, how it can be very easy on the back by digital identity. And whatever I'm talking is really happening. But the best use case will be cross-border. At a global level, how can I have a global passport? Or how can I have a really health index of a particular country, put it on blockchain? So I think everything, as you rightly said, is coming on a blockchain. But Kamlesh, you have seen being a CTO at a Snapper, and some of the innovations which you have done at IFSC also, right, in the last couple of years. And as you have moved from pure play tech to investment side, FSV side, FSV Capital, wanted to take your view, how is the blockchain shaping up in the last 6-7 years in Indian context here?
Yeah, so thank you, Prasanna. I'm setting the context. So before answering the question, I want to say about the GIG and IFSCA. So I can only 2 years before, like really see the difference. Like Joseph mentioned, like in every month he can see the difference, like 3 floors build up. That is really happening because I came in 2 years before in the Vibrant Gujarat, and now I see it second time. So I clearly see the difference. So it is really growing up, and it is a great opportunity. about the blockchain ecosystem, so I started my blockchain journey in 2016, so it's almost 8 years, and I seen the use cases and seen the NFT, crypto and all this stuff. But there are many interesting projects like happening, like Sriji Yatra is already blockchain based digital application for the travelers, and it's already active and running, and everyone uses nowadays. And similar to CBDC infrastructure is RBI building, another, and like OMDC, like is maybe e-commerce, decentralized infrastructure. They're also putting the blockchain layer on their infrastructure. So there are a number of use cases, and there are a number of use cases already happening. People not aware. So for example, currently I'm working one project in Gujarat, Rajkot. I can't say the name of the organization, but actually we are doing the traceability of ghee products, and we identify the 20,000 farmers in Gujarat, Rajkot, and building on traceability of these ghee products across the chain from farmer to animal to the till product consumer, and that's already a work in progress and is done by the Minister of Animal Husbandry. So this is already happening and people are not aware. So like try is one example, CBDC another, DJatra another, and such many use cases. And we also doing some work with IFSC. So my previous company is Future Tech, with the advisor currently. We are one of the sandbox company where we doing the tokenization of waste management plastic related on blockchain, and IFSC provided a grant and also provided the regulatory environment to try and test. So there are many such use cases already happening, and we can't say just a buzzword and only the POC stage. There are many use cases and production is already.
I think in 2016 we used to call it as a buzzword. Rather, every discussion used to start with what is blockchain, and you talk any decision maker, they used to ask it can be really done in a mobile app or web, why blockchain is really required. But I think we have moved on to a different orbit now. Typically, some of the IS officers, they themselves say, how do you really sign it off? So they have reached to that maturity level. Yeah. Do you really do the smart contract audit? Which are the tools you use? So I think maturity level has increased. But at least at a national level, where Joseph, you are driving IFSC so well, and we keep hearing your guidance on, and you also spoke in your keynote around sandboxes. If you were to, if I ask you which are those top 4 to 5 areas where this sandbox is really going to help for a country like India, or which are those use cases you see?
Thank you. So for us, so just to give the context, in the IFSC here, we have 4 different types of sandboxes. So I'm sure some of you might not have known this. 2 are very famous, and the other 2 are, a few players have been using it. So just taking a couple of minutes to explain those so that you understand what I'm trying to say here. The first sandbox, we call it as an innovation sandbox. The second is the regulatory sandbox. Third is called the interoperable regulatory sandbox, IORS. And the fourth is referral kind of a sandbox. When I say innovation sandbox, what we mean is you are using bleeding edge technologies, new things, you're really pushing the envelope, that it's risky to put that into a real world scenario right away and get live transactions going, but we could use test transactions to test the concept and get the regulatory comfort. So that's what I mean by innovation sandbox. When I say regulatory sandbox, as a regulator, we are entitled to have the regulatory sandbox, just like RBI and all the other regulators world over, MAS, FCA, all the people have regulatory sandbox. So we also have a regulatory sandbox where we are trying these innovations, which has graduated from innovation sandbox to the regulatory sandbox with live transactions. So what happens is we kind of restrict probably the risk, because as a regulator I'm worried about the risk, I'm worried about the consumer protection. So we restrict and say, okay, you can do let's say 50K US dollars or 100K or 250K, whatever is the risk for that use case is. That's how we design it. The third is the interoperable regulatory sandbox. This is a sandbox between the 5 financial sector regulators of the country. So if you have an innovative solution today in India, and that straddles between 2 areas, let's say banking and capital markets, that innovator cannot go to RBI alone Because RBI will say, this is capital markets, don't come to my sandbox. And if I go to SEBI, SEBI will say, this is banking as well. So now the innovator is stuck. So there was a committee called IRTG, the FSDC, the Financial Stability Development Committee, chaired by the Honorable FM. So under that, they constituted an IRTG, Inter-Regulatory Technical Group on FinTech. I'm part of that. So we came up with this concept of an IORS, where all the 5 regulators are part of it. So if the innovator comes with a solution which has some element of banking and capital markets, both the regulators have to sit together and hear out the innovator and make sure you get a go, no go kind of a stuff. So that's the third IORS part, right? And the fourth one is on the referral, which is about having fintech bridges with overseas regulators. So we have one with MAS in Singapore. So today I refer some of our innovations here to Singapore, directly to the regulator there. They have referred a couple of their innovations to us directly so that it comes from Singapore to India. So that's the concept. Now answering this question specifically, the use cases traditionally we position in blockchain or in some of these cutting edge areas of tokenization in the innovation sandbox. Because it might not be ready to do a live transaction right away because a lot of things have to be sorted out. And to very specifically answer this question, when we started, the top 3 use cases which came were on cross-border payments, RegTech, and AIML. That's how we started. So we had a lot of applications coming in cross-border. So that, I'm not sure how many of you are following, some 2-3 weeks ago, IFSC has come up with this payment services regulation. So we looked at it. So the way it is there is a lot of market demand and it is there in the sandbox. So when they exit, they need to have a regulation. So under DPSS, which is our Department of Payment Systems and Services, we created this new regulation. Now the trend, so this is like almost 1.5 years ago. Now the trend which I'm seeing is a lot of tokenization requests coming in. I'm seeing tokenization of real world assets, and now we have put up a committee for asset tokenization. The committee is going to give its recommendation, and then we will look at what kind of regulation we need, and so on and so forth. So right now, the top 3 for me would be on tokenization, AIML is coming up, right? And of course, a lot on RegTech is still there. Apart from this, just so that it interests this community, want to tell that we had one on space tech and a couple of them on quantum tech, which we have given the regulatory nod. Quantum tech, they're looking at optimization, and again, they have some blockchain components, which they're trying to do. Space tech, you might be wondering, what exactly is the space tech doing in an IFSC? Quickly taking a 30 seconds to tell you that. This is the US space tech, which is taking the geospatial intelligence on the satellite health, giving it to insurers here in the IFSC, so that the insurance company can underwrite efficiently the satellite insurance. So that's the kind of equation we are trying to do. And some of these guys are going to the provenance, and when you say provenance, I cannot do it without blockchain. So I think you got the answer.
I think wonderful, and I'm sure at least 10 plus applications will be there in your office today, at least today evening, looking at Web3 and tokenization, the guys, and some of the quantum guys also sitting here. The coming back, I think blockchain is a foundational tech. It takes its own time to really implement. But see the magic, right? You open a bank account and it takes maybe 5,000 to 10,000 rupees for a bank to open a bank account for a customer. And the customer says, no, I'm not happy with the ABC bank. He goes to maybe another XYZ bank, and that bank again incur that much cost. Right? And imagine at least everybody must be having more than 1 or 2 bank accounts, right? And imagine at a country level or at a RBI level, we have incurred that much operation cost. But tomorrow, rather today, there are some experiments are happening where you do KYC once, the same KYC can be decentralizedly available on all the other banking nodes. And you just have to go there and give your consent, which could be a next of, we have seen paper KYC, eKYC, VKYC, CKYC, rather, this will be decentralized KYC. While the KYC typically good identity will be something like a self-sovereign identity, which is typically around Web3 world, having a KYC within your pocket. But it takes its own time. And when we started this project, and there are a lot of questions, a lot of challenges to come. Who will hold the data, right? So, and how one bank will say, yeah, I'm already gone with the hyperledger, why I have to buy R3? Because consortium says it should be on R3. Or some banks will say, I don't know what is this blockchain all about, right? Awareness. I think there are a lot of challenges to build path-breaking ecosystems or path-breaking use cases. Within a bank, if I sit, I can tell you at least 300 plus use cases how banking can change the way we do banking today. Or many more controls will be vanished over a period of time. But challenges is really something, and it's not a technology challenge. But technology challenge, we have seen how MS-DOS has become Windows. Or we will certainly will see how scalable blockchain we can bring in. But we want to understand what are the particular technology challenges. I think you deal with a lot of customers, and how you really see which are those 2-3 challenges. Let us open this forum, this part where Kamlesh will talk about what challenge he has faced for. Yeah, Shashi.
So well, client comes with a vision that they want to do something because they heard about this latest technology, blockchain, right? So they want to do something, but for example, I'll just take a good example of our prominent client, Skoda, car company, Skoda. They want to do something into the blockchain, but they don't know because the user experience in terms of the blockchain and user experience in Web 2.0 is totally different. So that's why I think technology, as I said earlier, technology is evolving. So there is a term called account abstraction is coming now, right? So there is a framework that are getting set up, but I'm sure there will be multiple things that the client is want to do something, but they are literally stuck. Once they know that there is a blockchain, there is a transaction, there is a certain way to do it, there is a smart contract. So we are all talking about technical jargons in front of them. So that's why as a company, what we started is we created a team called Business Intelligence Team, and wherein they are just guiding the client in Web 2.0 language rather than Web 3 language. So I think this is where we all need to focus on rather than discussing or talking. We need to understand our audience first, rather than starting with these technical jargons. So we need to make him understand that how it's fruitful for him in his current business. So far, whatever we have created onto the blockchain, that is just a hypothetical numbers that are there, but there is no ROI there. So with the invention of this asset tokenization, so I foresee it's a huge market, like Joseph mentioned, like it's a trillions of money that can be moved easily to India, because India has that youth now, India has that power, India has the largest community of blockchain, right? So I can see over here also every second person is not just familiar with blockchain but announces of the blockchain as well. Yeah. So
yeah, I think just to summarize. There could be 4 types of challenges. One could be awareness or education, and now we see a lot of courses available, Kerala Blockchain Academy, and our friend is also doing a lot of awareness blockchain courses. I think more or less next generation developers who want to get into, I think they know how to really go ahead. And if any company wants to do, as you rightly said, you start with awareness and then teach how to derive that use case. Second thing could be around technologically where companies can talk, where there are a lot of technological challenges we see, interoperability, scalability, speed. Third would be like how do you really bring that governance, right? How do we I think regulatory sandboxes and even regulators at government level also we see the strategy and relevant enforcement, how it's not only technology, how business model should be coming around, right? And the fourth is around what are those use cases to bring on, is it really required or not required as a incentive, right? How do we derive that ROI, return of investment? So I think Kamlesh, you may want to talk about those technological challenges or any other challenges which you have seen as a snapper days and these days.
So, as a technologist, I seen from last 8 years, right? Technology now matured. I think we can't say like technology is not mature. Scalability is now improved. Interoperability also is in place. So now I think more challenges in terms of first awareness education, not about the blockchain, but in general of technology uses, in which use case and what is the context. Another is the ROI, because I don't want to implement blockchain, but they don't understand whether it's a right use case or right fit, or if there is no ROI. For example, currently when the discussion, we are building the traceability of one, let's say, low value item traceability. But if consumer not aware, if they want to do the QR code scan and want to see the traceability, or maybe they don't care about the traceability. This is one. Another is like regulatory challenges. So, for example, but where we can say like
regulatory is getting sorted.
It's sort of about you not bringing the every stakeholder benefit in a blockchain ecosystem, it is very hard to implement blockchain because it can't be one centralized specific or maybe one not specific to one stakeholder. That should be win-win for all the stakeholder. Then you can implement blockchain in a consortium.
To say the choice whether to go for Hyperledger or R3 or any blockchain as a service platform or wait for something more bigger, which is
so. I think you don't care about the technology, you don't care about the which blockchain. If you see the real use case and is solving some specific problem, go ahead. Whether it's a public chain, whether it's a private chain, whether it's any of the governance.
But typically banks will never go for a public blockchain. They will always look at some private.
Yeah.
Maybe some of those prominent examples are like Hyperledger, R3s and so on, based upon their evaluation criteria also. And in my view, whenever we want to choose any blockchain platform, we need to look at how the platform is really engaging the community, how many developers are available out there, and the maturity, how it will integrate with the existing system. Are there any interfaces available? And that's how we look at it. So, Joseph, do you see any challenges, and how do you see these challenges can be mitigated?
See, as a regulator, we only see challenges and risks.
And just to support you, I think last 2-3 years, we keep doing at India Blockchain Forum. Telangana state has done tokenization framework, but I really do not see that challenge.
So let me tell you. So see, first, of course, you touched upon it, governance, right? So today there's a lot of Web3 action which happened. But then because of some very poor governance, the entire industry or the entire segment has been kind of painted with a broad brush. Say, for example, something like FTX happened, or Ronin Bridge happened. It doesn't mean everybody's like that, but then there was a failure in the governance. That's something we need to fix first to get the credibility back. But then there are some more deeper issues. For example, data privacy, right? Europe says GDPR. And as per GDPR, I as a user can say, I want my record to be deleted. It's my data. Now I put it on a blockchain, it's immutable. How will you delete that record? I have a problem to solve, right? Second, you look at asset tokenization. We are going to securitize it. Now, SEC and Ripple, numerous cases world over. What is this token? Can I classify it as security, utility, payment? There are different avatars of it. We need to have clarity on that. And then, which means we need to change our regulation. So there is a security regulation, that SECRA. That needs to recognize token as a security. So I need to amend that first before I can give a legitimacy to this token as a security. Right? So like that, what I'm trying to say is, there's a lot of such niche areas which we need to really look. Now, fundamental to blockchain, smart contracts. What is the legal validity of a smart contract? What happens if a smart contract misfires? Is it the responsibility of the developer, the bank which ran it, or the bot which ran it, or the outsourcing company which created it? We need to have a clear idea there, because at the end of the day, as a regulator, I also need to balance consumer protection, right? So there are some, I won't say these are problems which are insurmountable. There are some loose ends which we need to tie, and I can see a lot of bright minds sitting there which will give us the solutions. So we need to sort these things out and bring in that credibility, the governance, and make sure that this is here to stay. Like he started with saying, earlier they used to start with what is a blockchain. And a few years ago, people used to say, this is a solution looking for a problem, right? But I think the time has come where this solution can solve a lot of problems. Of course, there are a few more things which we need to tie up, which we will do along the way and make it a very robust solution. So that's my 2 cents on that. Thank you.
One point about the data privacy. So I represent the Hyperledger India. So now, technology mature. So now in a Hyperledger fabric, we have feature to take a data, delete a data, which can solve the GDPR compliant problem. So, for example, suppose you have a chain and you want to decide, let's say you want to take the block archive of, let's say, previous 10,000 blocks. You can do that now. So technology mature to address this kind of issues.
Correct. So that's for one particular chain. Now you have so many chains. Now another angle would come as interoperability. because tomorrow I want things to work seamlessly across, right? So yes, that's why I said we have bright minds solving the problems, but there are still some more loose ends to be tied up, and we will reach there.
So I think for continuation onto that point, like UPI is there, like a unified payment interface. Simply not interoperability, but I would say there will be a single chain kind of that will be there down the line, wherein all the blockchain features, the inherent features will be there. So let's see how the future is shaping it up. But yes, technology is taking its own pace, but I am happy that government is actively participating now and accepting it is not as a challenge, but as an opportunity to lead into the world's business.
And when we say government, it is always supported by RBI, IFSCA. Imagine RBI has its own DLT committee and they drive a lot of areas. And maybe sooner or later they will come up with their blueprint how blockchain should be utilized in the banking use case, the way we also guide them. IFSC is doing, IRD has done some of the cohorts, and one of the companies so-called Linter is a part of their insurance. CB also have, I think, and the government per se and the regulatory per se, a lot of things are happening. And corporates, like as you said, UPI, right? I think they tried with Vajra to bring Vajra as a blockchain ecosystem to if some of you can understand the reconciliation part. How do we reduce the reconciliation cycle which comes next day cannot be on the same day? So I think over a period of time we have seen a lot of maturity to corporates also. We have seen examples like GMR coming with their own thing. I am working closely with the Samsung kind of a logo. They want to really bring on a blockchain wallet. While they are looking at how regulation, they will certainly will connect with the Joseph how they can bring on their things which they have done in US and Korea. Or they want to look at how greener your phone should look like. There are a lot of challenges when you operate your Android phone. So there are a lot of path-breaking use cases are certainly coming for per se. But in my view, there are 4 or 5 areas which will drive next economy. One of those is the good digital identity. And the countries who have, right, we are placed with Aadhaar, Web2-based, but we will see how decentralized identity will really, that too interoperable from one country to another. Second use case, we keep talking about tokenization or asset tokenization and many more use cases around that. How it can be really play a major role where sitting here you can buy a property in Dubai, provided how rules and regulation will play. Third could be something which is around decentralized autonomous organization where we talk about a lot of decision making should be transparent, voting or e-voting kind of use cases. I think that will drive where we have seen Estonia like country has already implemented at least 200 plus use cases. So other countries will look at and implement around that. Some of the prominent use cases backed by blockchain and Web3 could be metaverse, right? How it will come and how within metaverse identity and these other railroads will play a major role. And we talk about NFT will not come based upon how newer business model will arrive. And in short, we keep saying that blockchain is so secure, but on the other side, security matters how we are configuring it, how we are utilizing it, whether smart contract is written, but who is validating. Even if we say that this is being validated by this tool, but is there any standard? Then we have standards already mentioned for signing off any of those Web2 use cases, like by OWS guidelines, and there are many more PCI DSS guidelines, so on. There is a long way to go for blockchain. While it is happening in parallel, CBDC kind of a use case comes, and while NPCI is driving that as a public news, they also struggle in the sense how do you really bring on India scale thing, right? While it is in pilot with 16 banks, how do we really have a immediate settlement or offline CBDC or interoperability, the experience with Singapore or UAE to cross border? So I think there is a lot of way ahead. So what is your guidance for blockchain, for corporates, for students, for startups, and all the enthusiasts here? So what is your guidance? What is that they should really embark as a, yeah?
So, well, there is one thing. I'm not sure how blockchain will do or at when time it will do, but definitely it's enforcing everybody, starting with our governments, with our compliances, or everything that they need to change something. So settlement, for example, moved from T2 to T1. Why? Why there is a change? Why there is a sudden change now that settlement started from T2 to T1 day, and over the time it probably will be T, right? And on blockchain, it's happening immediately or within seconds. So if blockchain is a technology, it's ever evolving technology, it will take its own time for sure. I'm not sure like by when we will say that it's fully implemented, but definitely the things that are enforcing our governments, enforcing our regulatory authorities, like sir mentioned about the smart contracts. Definitely people started thinking now, that communities are getting built now, laws or regulations are getting built now, that how to build a legalized smart contract, for example. Legalize the definition of a token. Between that token or asset will be backed by its equity, backed by its profit, backed by debt, backed by anything. So that we can think of, right? So technology will take time, but I think the beauty of the thing that it's forcing our government now to start thinking onto the technology side, and that is happening. And I'm fully confident by the way that it is getting absorbed by everybody. Days are not far when we will say everything move to a blockchain as a technology.
Absolutely, I think right. So, Kamlesh, what's your guidance for all of our enthusiasts, maybe putting some startups or some maybe startup looking for funders? Yes, you can.
So I think there are huge opportunity out there in India in the industry, because till date we are trying to work for the US and UK to solve their problems as IT, right? Now we itself growing as a more than 8% GDP, right, in the recent figures, and there are a number of problems available, and now support from government to the regulator to the startup ecosystem, education, academia. So I think there are huge opportunity. You can find the problem and solve it. You will get support from government. You can get support from investors. You can get support from even regulators. So yeah, I think there are lots of things you can do.
And other ways, either you do it and somebody else is already doing it. Right?
A job creator instead of looking for a job, because huge opportunity there. So even I now visit nowadays even the tier 2 cities like Jabalpur, Raipur, and I surprised to see now every engineering college has some kind of incubation accelerator and house of the 100+ startups growing, making revenue, and they are not looking for a job. They are trying to build something, and so this is changing, because when I was doing engineering on that time, not the facility was there, and now it's there. So you go and build some solution and try to build something instead of looking for a job in any agency.
See, for me, I don't think I'm in a position to give guidance thing, because the experts who already dabble and dirty their hands. But one thing which I could tell in this forum is, see, right here we have created this fintech entity framework, which is a regulatory framework, where Web3 or blockchain. So already you have some regulatory ring fencing support, because I've seen startups come to us, get our authorization, and when they apply to us, they would have said, I'm valuing my startup at X. But after we give the authorization, suddenly it becomes 7x, 8x. I see read that in papers, because the investors are valuing a regulatory stamp of approval. So probably if it's there in your backyard, you should leverage that. Second thing, Kamlesh already said that we also give out incentives. There is incentives for these startups in the blockchain and other spaces. So those who are authorized could also apply for that, and incentives range from anywhere from 15 lakhs to 75 lakhs. 75 is for the green areas, so tokenized green bonds and stuff. They're eligible for that, but you have a proof of concept. You get about 30, 50 lakhs in the sandbox and stuff like that, which is not huge. It's not like, please understand, this is the first time a financial sector regulator in the country is giving out grants to startups. No other regulator has done. So we are doing that in the gift city today, right? So that's number 2. Two other points which I want to say. I won't say it is guidance or advice, but it's something I see when applications come to us. Sometimes there is lack of clarity. We really appreciate clarity of thought, attention to details. Of course, in the sandbox, you can build the product. I do not want to see a finished product. I still give amends, or we can make amends for you to build the product. But you should have the clarity of from where to where you're going and what you think are the problems. If you can state clearly what are the things you want us to help you, that is also good. But having that clarity is very important. And second thing which I think might be important in the days to come is to focus on the IP, the intellectual property. That's where a lot of our startups are missing the bus. The IP finally goes to some foreign country, foreign investors outside the country. The knowledge power is of our own youth, and the IP is ours, and I do not know why we are not vigilant on that. So that is another humble request I would have, that when you're ideating, when you're creating these wonderful solutions, have an eye on the IP part, because the country is changing the IP regime also, and you should also have a plan to monetize that IP. Forget about monetization. People are not even thinking about retaining the IP. So that is something which I would definitely want for the startups. Thank you.
I think excellent discussion. Yeah, excellent discussion on this particular topic. So in a nutshell, the way ahead for every stakeholder, typically we see any ecosystem stakeholder is maybe academia, students. So I think they have already started embarking blockchain. We have seen blockchain CUs are coming, Kerala Blockchain Academy or Idea Labs, and all these academies are working very closely with the tech companies also, Tech Mahindra and others. Other pillar could be corporate, start with small, that's how they started. And many, you may not know, many corporates already started creating their own internal CUE on deep techs, and blockchain is one of the prominent part of that. I can name GMR, Flipkart, Samsung, and many Infosys, TCS. I have seen those days, they were not having anything, and that's how they started those areas. So prominently say, and the way they do, they start with small, they take along all the stakeholders in the company and slowly go for a internal use case to the larger use case. I think third, government, the way we see national strategy coming for India, and the way PM and many other stakeholders at various state levels are now implementing. You never know, Assam or Rajasthan, West Bengal is already on blockchain, Tamil Nadu doing e-voting, Kerala doing crop insurance, or Maharashtra trying for land registration, Gujarat recently done bid for a land registration, or Odisha has done for at least 50 plus use cases. They want to bring it on blockchain, start with the citizen wallet plus banking blockchain as a service. So I think a lot of waves happening on all the stakeholder areas. Experts, influencers are really helping to nurture that knowledge. Regulators are supporting with the right regulation on which is a long-term regulation. It's not something like you need to move from Web 2 to Web 3, because it's a movement. It's not something we will do away with the Web 2 in the next 2 days, right? It's an experience-changing moment. We just treated them as a name, Web 2 and Web 3. Both will coexist, and maybe we'll land up in Web 4. Never know. Which is an era of maybe 5G or autonomous, backed by metaverse, backed by IoT, smart cities, cognitive cities, and so on. I think it's a beautiful time, and as a deep tech technology, blockchain or AI, they will change this foundation. And good to see that how various stakeholders are really helping at India Blockchain Forum, the way I started a couple of years back, with that vision that how we'll create the right policies, how we'll work closely with the regulator, how we'll work closely with the corporates, academia, and so far so good. We have come up with a good structure in India, and we have some chapters coming in Canada or chapters coming in UAE also. So wonderful talk today, and thank you so much, Joseph, Kamlesh, and Shashi for bringing that lot of knowledge. At least a lot of us will carry lot of knowledge, and we can certainly take some of the questions, and while everybody is available here, we can take a couple of questions, right?
May we request all to kindly share your questions, because of course this was an engaging session.
Hello, this is Kalpesh from PM People. Actually, sir, we are building the blockchain in projects management, and our problem is when client is, we are sending that project status report to the blockchain. Now our client are facing the problem that this all the information are the public, right? So is there are any possibility that regulatory can create the private blockchain and only the related stakeholder can access those information?
Maybe not a regulator, even as a, because you may be putting the data on public chain, right? So you must be create the private chain, maybe any of the framework like R3, Fabric, or Unity kind of things and stuff, and create the private blockchain with your clients and your customers, and share the data across accordingly.
So foundationally, you need to really ask whether that use case require blockchain first of all. Okay, I don't think so as a project plan or project management, unless you want to make it decentralized tomorrow, or unless you want another token back supported by something. But going from on the ground, I think for a private per se, considering you want to onboard some identities there, employees and the whole process, maybe you have a some third-party partners and so on coming on to these. In that case, we need to really, one of the important steps, which blockchain you are choosing, which blockchain platform. And certainly some of our friends will agree. There are private blockchain. I will not promote Hyperledger or R3 or something based on pocket size. You can always choose which blockchain. But they are very costly. Just for a project management, you want to invest 1.5 CR for a Hyperledger license. May not be.
Is it free? Is it not licensed? It's open source code. You can deploy anywhere.
Hello, this is Ibrahim from Chintle. So I wanted to ask if you can help me understand how blockchain can help in cases where all stakeholders are private. So in cases like DLT, everything is private, right? So how is blockchain helping us rather than a simple server setup? That's all. So it's not a infrastructure challenge that it cannot go so fast as blockchain. So if everything is happening privately, it's not public, and it is not supposed to be public in near future. Then how is blockchain helping in that case?
So one of the use cases which we are doing, like example, a payment company, which is a private, but they have lot of operations where they deal with lot of file transfers coming in from the external sources. And within the organization, they have a lot of tax to be added by particular units, and one unit is dependent on other. Another example could be like a supply chain within a company, like how a phone is getting manufactured. Ultimate output is on the 30th day, but in between from day 1 to 30th day, there are a lot of designs, lot of IP, lot of important documents, and the exchange from one unit to another. So I think that is how we need to look at identity of an employee, then workflows, and how complete organization can become a zero knowledge or a zero trust organization. Because today it may not be the requirement, but tomorrow the way regulations are happening, various acts are coming, it's a good sense to really implement. But again, you need to see how you really want to take care of a cost and many other aspects around. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Hello, good morning. My name is Priyan and my question is for Joseph and K.P. Prasanna. So we have seen that regulatory framework is needed in terms of onboarding the actual user or the consumer. So for example, we take example of supply chain or the healthcare or any fintech, right? So I have seen that we have the solution, but onboarding is tough because not all the parties are agreed to be onboarded to the particular solution or the structure, right? So how the regulatory framework will boost this onboarding process? So if you take insurance example, they are not ready to onboard because there is multiple insurance parties should be involved to make a proper blockchain kind of solution, right? So how regulatory body will help in boosting the adoption?
If I take this, maybe Joseph can add on.
Yeah.
It all depends on what you want to build. Is it a healthcare system, insurance system, or some financial application, or some? So based upon that, a particular regulatory entity will come into the picture. Maybe it's a fintech where you are onboarding a customer, so fintech has to talk to bank and leverage on all those APIs. So bankers will take care of that regulation. Inherently, before signing it off, before going live, they will take care of every other regulation. How are you onboarding the KYC of the customer? How the data is moving from that fintech ecosystem to bank ecosystem. So it depends which use case you are driving. That regulation will come. Regulation may not be required at all. It depends upon use case.
Yeah, so I'm specifically talking about finance use cases where kind of a voting, like a proxy voting on a stock exchange, right? Where the regulatory framework should be there. Then and there only people will, other companies, stock market companies, registered companies, they will, adopt the solutions, right? So how you see this process will the adoption?
See, from a regulator's perspective, for us, there are some cardinal principles, right? One, financial stability, looking at the systemic risks, looking at consumer protection. There are some basic, pillars which we focus on. For what you are saying, I think that's for the market forces to decide what they want to do with that problem statement and the solution. As a regulator, our regulatory frameworks will not kind of force a customer to pick a particular product or solution. That's not what a regulator should do. A regulator is supposed to be making sure it's a fair game, right? That nobody's kind of hurt, to give a very kind of a crude example there, right? And in your case, if you think the solution is really good, I don't see a reason why people are not going to come to that. Because what I have seen is when people have applied to us in our sandbox and when we gave the regulatory approval, with the regulatory approval, they were able to get more trust and traction in the market because a regulator is backing them, right? There was one guy, I'll give a specific example, no names here. He wanted to put in a project here in the quantum space, and that was about 50 crores or more. You know, he was behind us for the grant, and the grant is like 30 lakhs. So I was telling him, boss, this is 30 lakhs, which as a regulator I can give. It's a pittance. Your project is like 50 crores or 70 crores or whatever. And he said, sir, I just need 1 rupee from the regulator. I have investors in US willing to put in $50 million. So that's the thing when it woke up to me, like, you know, wow, so they're attaching a lot of premium. So that's what we will do, bring in credibility, but it is for the market to pump in based on what they see. So you will never see a regulatory framework which will kind of say that go towards this solution or attract this product. That is not what a regulator's ambit is usually.
I think we can take one last question and then everybody's around, so we can always discuss offline.
Sachin,
I hope everyone can hear me.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Alright, my name is Arjun Kazanchi. I'm the CEO of a company called Ruba Finance. Very graciously, IFSCA in December 2023 gave us the approval for the innovation
Is it a
sandbox.
question or?
It's a quick question, which is fun. So we're essentially seeing the issues with regard to adoption. Obviously, regulation, you guys have taken care of. The economic incentives around the inefficiencies the market needs to take care of. But in terms of the infrastructure, private blockchains, public blockchains, do you think it's time right now that an NPCI step up, create an India stack, maybe an interoperable stack, and then decentralize the infrastructure?
So I think in Indian banking context, we have a company called the Indian Banking Digital Infrastructure Company. And the agenda of this company, how they can create a digital infra, not only because we can't have in the sense, the way these companies will work, but we can't run after only blockchain, because we have to run after use cases, and these companies are made for use cases based upon which company is right. For example, NPCI is for payment. That is where they have come up with the CBDC as a use case, and they are doing another project while they have that aspiration to really bring on a open source, another fork of a hyperledger on a blockchain. And so that is how I look at it. So everybody has an opportunity to bring on, while there are a lot of layer 1 platforms and so on. But good to see that banking blueprint and a relevant platform, banking as a service backed by blockchain plus AI, that will solve a lot of problems to look at. I think similarly, it's opportunity for various service providers also here, and they come and you see SAP has gone sometime, right, as a ERP system for all those 17. So that's how we need to look at which is that business problem we are solving with that use case. Everybody has an opportunity. Otherwise, we can't have a Samsung phone, or we can't have some of those Canon camera. It all built by a lot of nitty-gritty components and so on. So everybody has an opportunity to really build whatever they want to build. NPCI is made in the way it is in public, it's made for only payment and the relevant infrastructure, which they are really doing nice. That is why we speak about UPI in every country. Tomorrow we'll talk about their CBDC, our CBDC in every country. That's how we look at that answer. And IBDS is taking care of this Indian Banking Digital Infrastructure Company to bring on that digital infra backed by blockchain, AI and other deep techs, and backed by normal finance and API banking, so that the banking can be incentivized as a platform. Likewise, we have there was one of the topic we wanted to discuss, but over a period of we discussed that digital public infra, and most of the DPIs today talk about OD, National Open Ecosystem by Protean or NSDL. They are doing on blockchain. You talk about ONDC, they are evaluating blockchain. DG Yatra, you said they are evaluating blockchain. So I think whether they fork that blockchain and use it for some purpose, or they do it from scratch so that IP remains with us, I think that's a very good question, and every organization has its own way to really look at how.
I can add to when before this India blockchain especially release, so already CDEC and NIC created the infrastructure where everyone can use that infrastructure and build their use cases. So it's already there, and for the IDBC, for the banks, and the RBI.
The same issue I will try to strive for interoperability, guys. But thank you so much.
I think thank you. I think it was a wonderful session and great to see that session with a lot of energy from both the sides, our panelists and all of our audiences. So thank you so much once again for being so great audience.
May I request all of you to kindly stay back, as I would request Ms. Farzana Sheikh to kindly come upon the stage and honor our illustrious panel, our valuable dignitaries, our eminent speakers who engaged us with this mind-blowing discussion, ladies and gentlemen. One more round of your applause, a huge round of applause for our eminent guests. May I now request our guests to be felicitated with our token of appreciation. May we have some energy? Well, this session was completely filled with knowledge as we broadened our horizons, and a session that is going to stay in our memory, and from here we will take a lot of inputs and build a lot of solutions. I hope this becomes one of the most engaging and motivating sessions. One more time, ladies and gentlemen. As we can see, the Statue of Unity being a token of appreciation as we unite together in this world of blockchain, the technological revolution, the fourth industrial revolution, ladies and gentlemen, as we thank all our illustrious panelists for this wonderful session. Thank you very much, gentlemen.